Phil, what's going on, you think? What do you think is the honest thought about Dave Aranda? Can he save his job this year?
I have a dear friend of mine that everybody knows. You would know him. I'm not going to give his name. Former head coach, college. I asked him last week, I said, watch the Baylor-Iowa State game. Tell me your thoughts. I said, they've been close, but it's been no cigar. I said, they've let, since the Colorado game, it's just sort of been hit and miss. And so Sunday morning, yesterday, I called him. And the first thing out of his mouth, he says, they're a team that has some good players, but he said, I don't see many difference makers. Mm-hmm. He said, they're a team that almost has to play perfect to win. And he said, we don't have enough playmakers to make up for our mistakes. And the more I thought about it, he's absolutely right.
Dead on right.
I mean, we don't, on both sides of the ball, we don't have enough playmakers that make us a winning team. And that's what kept us from winning that game Saturday. I thought when number 5 intercepted the ball before halftime on that bad throw by their quarterback, I said, this is the momentum that Baylor needed. And it wasn't. And as you said, they just kept getting stronger. And, where were our other running backs? The Reese hit.
Yep.
Is there something going on there?
Well, he's been out. They haven't really, even though they have a bunch of names, none of them I don't think have all been healthy at one time. Dominic Richardson out. Bryson Washington missed the first part of the year. Of course, he took a shot on that awkward collision.
I think it's a combination of availability and just like they can't run the football.
You're not going to win a game when someone has 270 yards rushing. I think both the top backs that got 100 yards averaged over 6.5 yards a carry. Mm-hmm. That's tough. And as you said, they stayed with the game plan, and they had more playmakers. And as my guy said, he said, you watch it, and early in the game, I think we all would say this, Baylor played hard. Sawyer came out and did some things, kept some things. We had a couple of good receiving yards, made some plays, but it eventually phased out. And there was no doubt in the fourth quarter, by the time that game, as he said, had evolved to the fourth quarter, it was an ass kicking.
Yeah, yeah. It could have gotten worse. Let me ask you a question.
It went from like, hey, you expected to lose that game on the road, top 15 team, but at least it's respectable to like, oh, wow, you got your butts kicked. That was a whooping, and now you feel even worse for it somehow.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's very well put, because that's exactly the way I felt. I said, wow, I thought this thing, you think before halftime, and that's why there's 4 quarters, and that's why good teams that have the playmakers, like Iowa State did, they keep playing, and eventually their athleticism and their ability shows up. And this is what my friend told me. He said, it teams like Baylor, I mean, and this is a tribute and yet a knock to Dave. The tribute is he's getting them to play hard, but they're not quite good enough or consistent enough to win, unless they carry it from start to finish. And you know what? He even said, he goes, hey, you just don't know when it's going to happen. It might, they'll beat somebody. He said they'll beat somebody because they're going to have that game that they play a whole game.
All right, I need to ask you this, and you've been on numerous staffs that have been recruiting. Now, the early signing period for most of your career was not there. It was in February, which allowed transitions to happen with coaching changes. Can you, as a university or an athletic department, not make a change, or can you ever make a decision on a coach because you're worried about what might happen to the recruiting class?
Dave, that's a tough question. I think that you're talking to a guy. I got let go with 5 games to go. And you know what? I was okay with it because I told him I wanted to finish out, and we did. I mean, we kept them hard and gave them time to find out. But I'm not sure it's beneficial to do it. I don't know how much of jump it gives you on, number one, finding another coach, and number 2, recruiting. I just don't. Now, here's the thing. You look at portal, and I heard Nick Saban say it. He goes, everybody talks about who's got the number one portal class, who's got the number one recruiting class. Well, the whole thing comes down, and people forget it, is evaluation, picking the right guys. And a new coach comes in, they're not going to be blind of who the athletes are. They're going to know who they want to recruit. And regardless, I can remember when Matt Rule came in, I told Phil, I told some of those other guys, of guys we recruited, we were recruiting, Petrie being one of them, you need to stay with him. The kid, the D lineman from Cedar Park, stay with him. He's a big player. And they did, and it paid off. So I can't tell you that. And it's just when is the best time? It's got to be an executive decision.
Okay. You have, as you said, let go 5 games left in the season. You have coached at a lot of places, had success in some places that didn't go as well. How do you go to work every day knowing that the inevitable is about to happen?
I've always said that when you're a football coach, you're renting an office. That's what you're doing. And your rent is paid by wins and losses and behavior. And I don't like the word culture, but the expectancy of your program. And when you're a professional, when you get in this, I had a guy tell me from the get-go. He said, if you're going to get in college coaching, the first thing you better understand, you can't carry your feelings on your shoulder, because you're going to be pissed off 99% of the time. And this was back now, Dave, you remember this. This was back in the day that you just had radio shows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't like the Twitter where everybody gives their thoughts. And I think there's an amount of pride. I'm telling you, I can. One of the things I was proud of this. I mean, we played. We were about where they were at. We weren't quite good enough to win. We had lost some guys, but my last game at SMU was I think a 4 overtime game against the top 25 of Memphis, and we lost it at the very end. But that becomes a personal thing of who you are, what you're made of, and I know this: Dave Aranda is not. If he is released, that staff, they're going to work their tails off to do the right thing, because you know what? They're all. I've always thought this: people are looking at you more now than they did when you were winning. When things are good, it's easy to say it's a road. When it gets tough, I always go back. I told people, friends of mine, when I was at Baylor, my toughest year was the second year. We weren't very good. We lost some people. And that role we got on, we came back after beating Kansas State and going to the Holiday Bowl. That was the finest coaching job that I've been around by a group of people. Art did a great job. We stayed the course. We beat some really good teams, and we finished the season beating a really good team. So that's when you just buckle up, and you realize it's not about you. It's about what I do, how I do it, and I'm going to show them what I'm made of. It becomes a pride thing.
I knew that those last 2 questions were pointed and also something that you would answer. I didn't know how you're going to answer it, but I knew that you would not in any way dodge the bullet. I appreciate your honesty in both of those cases.